What does freedom mean to you? Does it mean the freedom to choose? The freedom to have a family and raise your kids according to your own values? What about living a wild, adventurous life, experimenting with music, relationships, or art? What does freedom really mean? What if freedom meant something that only a few Americans still understood? What if it meant that your choices and your values were set by you, rather than by some politician in a far-off capital? Some people think we're only free to choose to live exactly how they live, by their moral code, or their narrow worldviews. But if liberty means anything, it means that you, and you alone, have the power to exercise your rights to which the laws of nature and nature's God granted you. It's time to put these principles back into action. It's time to restore the American dream, activate in our communities, and take our country back. It's time to wake up, America.
Good morning, it's 7:01 and you're watching the Wake Up America show with Austin Petersen. Happy Friday, we made it. Today is Facebook Friday. I'm asking all my viewers and listeners today to watch the show on the Facebook page at facebook.com/AP4Liberty. This week we've been experimenting with a different platform every day, and so far it's been really successful at coordinating our efforts to support the show. I'd love your feedback on it, however. Feel free to text in and let us know what you think at 573-319-1586. At the top of the show, I'm going to react to Tucker Carlson's interview with Kanye West. We're going to discuss the now trending topic of him and Candace Owens wearing those White Lives Matter shirts and the reactions to it. And we're going to talk about his controversial comments on minorities and abortion. It's going to be spicy. Then at 7:30 a.m., is Joe Biden going to be the president who legalizes weed? Well, it certainly won't be me. President Biden made a stunning announcement yesterday that he would pardon all nonviolent marijuana offenders and work with the attorney and surgeon generals on descheduling it as a Class A drug. This is big. We'll talk to Ethan Thampi about that and what that means for the push to legalize recreational cannabis right here in my home state of Missouri. And at 8 a.m. this morning, the crisis of American boys. We're going to continue our discussion on this crucial topic for our nation's future with Ian Smith. He's a fitness expert who made a name for himself in resisting COVID tyranny and lockdowns at his gym in New Jersey. He's got a lot to say on this topic, and we'll look forward to hearing from him then. And at 8:30 this morning, Liberty Laura joins me to answer a question that got head spinning yesterday when Megyn Kelly said she'd rather her husband cheated with someone physically rather than emotionally. Would Laura say the same? And what did my wife Stephanie say when I asked her that same question last night? What would your wife or husband say? Send us a text and let's discuss all that and more on this Friday edition of the Wake Up America show with Austin Petersen. Glad to have you here. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Like I said, today is Facebook Friday, so I would appreciate it if everybody who can head on over to the Facebook page and follow us over at facebook.com/AP for Liberty. Now, I know what you're thinking. Austin, Facebook hates you. They hate us, and they don't want to have us, and I don't have a Facebook account. Totally fine. If you want to watch us over on YouTube this morning, I saw Melissa over there. Melissa Roysden, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for buying the cool Make Taxation Theft Again mug the other day. We will send that to you with loving care. Good morning, Chris Morrill, Josh Douglas, Kenneth Slayer, Anna DePalm, and all of our friends who are over on the Facebook live stream as well. Glad to have you there. Just a little bit of house cleaning real quick before I react to the Tucker Carlson interview with Kanye West. But next week's going to be a little bit of a weird week for you, and I've got some exciting news and some not exciting news, some sad news. Well, I guess not sad, but maybe disappointing a little bit. So next week, Stephanie, my wife, and I are headed to Miami, Florida, and then from there down to the Florida Keys, and we're going to be doing some scuba diving down there for her very first time ever. We got our scuba certification this last summer. So we're going to go down to the Florida Keys, which thankfully was unharmed by the hurricane. And so here's the schedule, what's going to happen next week for the show. On Wednesday, we're going to have a live Florida show special. On Wednesday morning, we're actually going to live stream the show from Florida. And if everything goes well, then we will have a beautiful beach view. And we're going to talk about Ron DeSantis, talk about the aftermath of Hurricane Ian, and we're going to talk, about anything that is going on in the news. So The show will be broadcast as normal on Wednesday. On Thursday morning, I'm going to have a best of show. So some of my favorite interviews, the best interviews that we have, it won't be live. Didn't want to disappoint you on there and let you know that there will be a show on Thursday. But then on Friday, when we do like many of our major scuba dives, I'm taking a day off. So next Friday, no show. Just as an FYI. Good morning, Abe Can-Abe. And good morning to Wade Schalk this morning, who says over on YouTube, Kanye going to get the Alex Jones treatment soon, guarantee it. Who was it? I was watching Joe Rogan the other day in terms of cancel culture and stuff, and they were discussing this moment where they, when a rocket gets, what do they call it, terminal velocity, and this is when the rocket has gotten so far out of the Earth's atmosphere that you can't stop it anymore. That it continues to go on past outside the atmosphere, and beating cancel culture is a little bit like terminal velocity, and people cheer for you and they're excited for you when you beat cancel culture. At some point, you become like Dave Chappelle. You become cancel proof, or Bill Burr, or Joe Rogan. At some point, you get so famous that you're cancel proof, you achieve terminal velocity. And Kanye West, I think, has certainly done that. You can't cancel Kanye West. Really, the only way to destroy somebody like Kanye West would be to destroy them, monetarily or financially. And that's the only way that you can do it, which is, that is a legitimate tactic. But I feel like with all of the music that he's written over the years, he's probably got royalties out the wazoo. Anyways, did you watch the interview with Tucker Carlson and with Kanye West? Because I was watching it yesterday, and I was just... Ooh, it was good stuff. I don't watch a lot of Tucker Carlson. I don't really watch a lot of cable news in general, but I'm going to watch it with you today because I thought this interview was so compelling. Let's take a watch.
Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. Kanye West, now known as Ye, is one of the best-selling musical artists in the world. He has also in recent years become a celebrated and very highly paid fashion.
And I just want to say, I am honestly a personal big fan of Kanye West. I was a fan of Kanye West before he got all political and started wearing MAGA hats and White Lives Matter shirts. I've always been a big fan of his music. So let's continue.
Designer. And of course, for a decade, he was well known to TV audiences as an in-law of the Kardashian family. Yeah. But it's West's latest incarnation as a kind of Christian evangelist that brought us to his office in Los Angeles today for the interview you're about to see. Days ago, during Fashion Week in Paris, West, accompanied by his friend Candace Owens, unveiled a T-shirt that read simply, White Lives Matter.
And can we just pause for a moment and say, no matter what you think of this stunt or what you think of Kanye West, or if you think he's crazy or not, you gotta have big black balls to do something like that. In Paris at the fashion show, to show up with those kinds of outfits, you gotta at least give him that much credit. Continue.
The response from the fashion industry and international media was instantaneous and uniform. Shock, horror, rage. There is no excuse for this, thundered the New York Times. West is legitimizing extremism, shrieked Rolling Stone, etc., etc. What was strikingly missing from the coverage, however, was any explanation for why West did this. What was the T-shirt about?
Right, and that's the thing, is that they never interview the person before. The media starts the smear campaigns before they ever go and search for a story, because the media is there to trumpet the elite and the establishment's point of view, the narrative. The media exists now, especially the mainstream media, but a lot of the alternative media as well has been taken over and captured. The media exists to parrot a narrative, and if you go against it, they don't need to go out there. They're not going out there and asking you a question first. They're going to smear you before they ever reach out for a question. And a lot of times too, they'll lie and say, oh, they were unavailable for comment. I've seen that happen dozens of times, where a reporter will just lie and say, oh, we reached out to them for a comment, but they never do.
No one seemed to think to ask him, much less to listen to what he had to say. Instead, the enemies of his ideas dismissed West, as they have for years, as mentally ill. Too crazy to take seriously. Look away, ignore him. He's a mental patient. There's nothing to see here. But is West crazy? You can judge for
It's a good question. In terms of like crazy, some of his behavior does seem that way, but he's a creative type. And Stephanie and I have talked about this before, but there truly is a very fine line between madness and genius. And I do think that sometimes they overlap, right? Albert Einstein, I think certifiably a genius, but he also penned an article in a magazine one day about why, why we need socialism. Madness, right? Continue.
For yourself as you watch what we're about to show you. He has his own ideas, we can say that. Creative people tend to. That's why they're artists, not actuaries. His free-form social media posts give the impression of a man channeling his rawest emotions right onto Instagram. The effect can be jarring and is often used as ammunition against him in the battle for influence over the minds of America's young.
It's nothing that I've seen on his social media, and I've followed him for a while, really, bothers me too much. But I guess I'm a little bit jaded because as I've gotten older, I've seen everything and done everything. I'll tell you, if somebody that I think is probably a little bit crazy, Britney Spears. I don't know why she keeps posting nude photographs on Instagram, but I mean, I guess if I was still in college and I saw what Britney Spears was posting on Instagram of these like nude photographs on beaches that are clearly not nude beaches, I would have been excited about it then, but now I just feel kind of sorry for her and kind of sad about it. I don't know. Maybe this is a sign of maturity. Not sure. Continue.
People, and that battle is intense. But crazy? That was not our conclusion. In fact, we've rarely heard a man speak so honestly and so movingly about what he believes. But again, you can judge for yourself. Here it is. So you just came from Paris Fashion Week. You just landed, and you have a lanyard still on from it, and there's a photograph on it. What is that?
It's a photograph of a baby's ultrasound.
Why is that? And that you designed that?
Yes.
Why? What does that mean?
It just represents life. I'm pro-life.
Boy, so you wear it on a badge. What kind of response do you get? And good, amen, I agree.
I don't care about people's responses. I care about the fact that there's more black babies being aborted than born in New York City at this point.
Whoa. Let's give him two applause for that. Keep going, audience. Yeah. I mean, the nerve of that man. The nerve of that man to say something so bold. Why would you say something so controversial and so brave? Continue.
That 50% of black death in America is abortion. So I really don't care about people's responses. I perform for an audience of one, and that's God.
Oh, I mean, I you know what? For the Christians out there, there you go. I give that to you. I'm not a, I'm more like,
No, God!
But that one's for you. How about that? Continue.
I'm starting to see why they want to make you be quiet.
Yeah.
When did you start to feel this way? When did you start to realize this?
Good morning, charmed one.
I really felt like, I think I started to really feel this need to express myself on another level when Trump was running for office, and I liked him.
Yes.
And every single person in Hollywood, from my ex-wife to my mother-in-law to my manager at that time to my so-called friends / handlers around me, told me, like, if I said that I liked Trump, that my career would be over, that my life would be over.
See, now they said that. I mean, that is, can you imagine, right? If you weren't as powerful as Kanye West, imagine if you didn't have the kind of clout that Kanye had. You can understand that, like, a lot of the views that people have in Hollywood is just enforced conformity. It's not conformity voluntarily for a lot of people. There's probably a lot of people in Hollywood who just want to have a career, and so they shut up. Can you imagine what Chris Pratt would love to be able to say but can't say? I'm sure there's a lot. Anyways, like, let's continue on. This is good stuff.
They said stuff like people get killed for wearing a hat like that. They threatened my life. They put my life. They basically said that I would be killed for wearing the hat. I had someone call me last night.
So ironic too, because I absolutely believe that, because Jussie Smollett had to go out and fake a hate crime about MAGA hat wearing people trying to beat him up and possibly kill him, and yet Kanye's life was threatened for wearing that hat. Oh man, this is good stuff. This is going on. Are we enjoying it? Give it a like on Facebook if you're enjoying this so far. Good morning, Chris Morrill. He says, what if I don't listen to music based on the artist's politics? Now, I don't either. Most of the people whose music and movies that I appreciate would probably hate my guts if they knew I existed. Continue.
And said anybody wearing a White Lives Matter shirt is going to be greenlit, and that means that they're going to beat them up if they wear it. And I'm like, okay, green light me then. God builds warriors in a different way. I don't know if it's because of me being born in Atlanta and growing up on the south side of Chicago that, he made me for such a time like this.
If you're just tuning in to the Wake Up America show with Austin Petersen, we are watching the Kanye West interview with Tucker Carlson. You can send the show a text at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. Wood Hippie messaged in this morning, and he says that he is watching over on YouTube. Well, thank you, Wood Hippie. We're glad to have you over there on YouTube. We're going to continue to react to this. We're going to continue to have this discussion. Ethan Thampy joins me at 7:30 this morning. Don't forget to talk about President Joe Biden announcing that he's going to legalize weed. I'd love to get your take on that. Buying votes? I've got an opinion on the whole buying votes theory with Joe Biden, and it's probably going to be surprising to you, but you got to hear it at 7:30 when Ethan comes up. All right, we'll be back with the more Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
And stronger and better.
I like shooting things, but whenever I can't shoot something, I like to cut things. My life isn't all about shooting and stabbing and cutting, though. Sometimes I have to do actual work, but when I work, I still like to have fun. And there's nothing less fun than trying to cut with a crappy knife. Thankfully, from the ancient sect of Christian knights, who also loved cutting and stabbing, comes a new implement that has received my personal blessing, the Templar knife. Like the ancient sword of Excalibur, you don't choose a Templar knife, it chooses you. You just decide what kind you want on the website first, however, and then order it online, and then it chooses you. The Templar knife comes in a variety of shapes. As a man of culture and taste, I have decided I will never use a terrible knife again. And thanks to the inspiration provided by this excellent product, I have decided to launch a new crusade against anyone using less than superior knives. Join me, brothers and sisters, by visiting uppercuttactical.com/pages/Templar-knives. That's a lot of slashes. For that, you'll need a Templar knife. For 10% off, use code AP for Liberty and join me in a quest for glory, for liberty, for Christendom, for the Templar knife. Get yours today.
Fire.
Your printing company stinks. They charge you too much money and they don't love America enough. We've got the solution. Patriot Printing USA. Whether you're running for office, saving souls, or just need business cards that will get you the new job you've been looking for, Patriot Printing USA has got you covered with the best prices around. Palm cards, brochures, bumper stickers, door hangers, you name it, we've got it. PatriotPrintingUSA.com. That's PatriotPrintingUSA.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
Average Americans are turning into conspiracy theorists at an unprecedented rate. Flip City Magazine was created for new converts to aid in their in-depth research along the path of absolute truth. We offer the hardest-hitting news and opinion delivered uncensored in print directly to your door. Display proudly on your coffee table or hide discreetly under your mattress. Flip City is the magazine they don't want you to see, much less read. Subscribe to Flip City Magazine today at flipcitymag.com.
I would remind you that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice.
It is better to settle these matters in the courts than on the streets, and new laws are needed at every level. But law alone cannot make men see right.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. Glad to have you here. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show with Austin Petersen. It's 7:21, and today is Facebook Friday. I'm asking all of our followers or friends who have Facebook accounts. I know some of you do not. Somebody even posted over in the live stream on YouTube that they are illegal on Fascist Book. Trust me, I'm just one more violation away from getting pulled off of that platform entirely. But yet today, I'd like to ask you to join me over at facebook.com/AP4Liberty. That's AP, the number 4. Oh, I see you over there giving me likes and hearts. AP, the number 4, AP for Liberty. That's where the original Cantina crew got started, and I'd love to have you join me over there today. Appreciate you very much, though, for watching on any of our platforms, including Rumble, YouTube, and on my website at wakeupamericashow.com. I'm very grateful to everybody who's participated in this experiment this week, where we've gone to a different social network every single day. It's definitely been helping. I haven't gotten all the data yet. Sometimes it takes a little time for all the analytics to come in and for me to go through all of the numbers and things, but so far it seems to be a really good experiment. WakeUpAmericaShow.com has been going for about a month and a week now, and things have really been improving. If you think that the Wake Up America show has gotten better and better, give us a like. Maybe even share the stream on your page so that more people can come over here and join us. AP, the mad scientist running his experiments, says Tony Allegra. Yes, I am. I hate that YouTube has the best platform, says Terry Smith. Well, Terry, were you there with us on Twitch on Tuesdays? Because I feel like some of the consensus was the consensus of scientists. 9 out of 10 scientists agree. The experts say Twitch has the best platform. You trust the experts, don't you? Of course, we always trust the experts. That's what we do. They're experts. They would never lead us astray, would they? Would they? Boy, we love this. This music is just so fun. Gets me up and rocking and rolling. Dan Snow says, in my opinion, Twitch has the best platform for streaming. Well, Dan, a lot of people feel that way. Oh, hey, guys. Did you see the news? Were you excited to see I'm going to be back on Timcast? The Tim Pool Show? Does that not excite you? Are you not entertained? The star is on the rise, baby. One of these days, I'm just saying, one of these days, you're gonna see. I'll tweet it. The Joe Rogan call is gonna come in. I can just feel it. I'm getting so close. But this show, the more it grows and the more it builds, I just know one day the Joe Rogan one's gonna come. But I'm super excited because on the 21st, I think, the 21st of this month, Friday the 21st, I will be on Tim Pool. It's gonna be a good one. All right, great. All right, are you guys ready to go? Tim Pool is the man. Yes, he is, says Dan Snow. You're killing it. Libertarian views will be mainstream, and that's the dream. Yes, it is. Amen. Appreciate you guys over there, over on Facebook and Twitch and YouTube. It's a beautiful morning. I feel good. Need to lose a little weight, maybe. Gained a little bit back. But I'm going to eat a lot in Florida next week, so after Florida. How about that? Ron Helton says, experts are like hand grenades. When you pull their pin, you hope they don't blow up in your face. Ooh, that's a good one. One listener texted in, oh, it's Wood Hippie. He said, Kanye speaks the very unpopular truth about abortion in the black community, between abortion and black crime that covers most deaths. Oh, yes, absolutely. All right, so let's get back to our interview between Tucker Carlson and Kanye West, and he just likes to be called Ye these days. Yay! Yay! Hooray! Let's go.
It's like with David. You know, he tended to the sheep, but while he was out there, he had to fight all kinds of animals. So when it was time for Goliath to come, you thought because he was a sheep herder that he didn't have the skill set to take down Goliath. And the thing that I have is the position, I have my heart, but the number one thing is we have God on our side. And for the people, even if you don't believe in God, God believes in you.
So you made reference to the White Lives Matter t-shirt, which you brought out at Paris Fashion Week.
Yeah.
Why did you do that, and what did it mean?
You know, I do certain things from a feeling. I just channel the energy. It just feels right. It's using a gut instinct, a connection with God, and just brilliance. You know, like as if you asked like Tanya Harding how she did the triple flip or the triple spin. Yeah. She was in so much practice that when it was time for her to skate in a competitive format, it just happened. Like it happened outside of practice. It happened in the real format, and that's what's happening. Is God is like preparing us for the real battles, and we are in a battle with the media. Like the majority of the media has a godless agenda, and their jokes in that work.
Majority of the media is
no God, no.
And this whole like, oh yeah, he's crazy, and all these things, they don't work because the media.
By the way, did anybody see that? Just pause for just a moment. Did anybody enjoy that when I had the comedian Anthony Rogers on the show? And he was, what did he say? He came on the show and he was like, oh yeah, the media has, he said the kind of the same thing. He's like, oh, it's a godless agenda. The people in the media are godless. And it was so funny because he doesn't know that I'm not religious. And it was just so funny because I remember I think later I asked him about it and he goes, oh, I thought you were a Christian. And he goes, and I go, oh, no. And he goes, oh, well, you seem like a Christian. He goes, and I go, what do you mean? He's like, well, you act like one, you look like one. I'm like, well, what does a Christian look like? But also then it was when he said you act like one, I've heard that very often from people because I was raised in a Christian home and on Christian ethics and morality. So, I've even heard people say, and maybe this is blasphemy, but I don't care. Somebody has even said that, Austin is more Christian than most Christians that I know. Let's continue.
They've also watch travesties happen, just even specifically to me, and just watch it and act like it wasn't happening, and they stay quiet about it.
What have they?
I want to answer the white. Yeah. I feel like someone caught what I was saying, the comparison to Tanya Harding about the White Lives Matter. My dad is an educated ex-Black Panther, and he put a text to me today. He said, White Lives Matter, ha, 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 ha. And I said, I thought the shirt was a funny shirt. I thought the idea of me wearing it was funny.
I thought it was funny.
I said, Dad, what do you think it was funny? He said, just a Black man stating the obvious. Yeah. And, my dad doesn't listen to rap music. And he's like super educated. We opened up a water distribution center in the Dominican Republic together. He's like the original Steve Jobs, but he was getting blocked every which way with all of his ideas. And he didn't have an endless bank account, and he didn't have Instagram. So all these ideas, he had to like take them back and compress them. Like my dad is the most brilliant person that I know. And we actually have a strained relationship because I was taken from him because my mom was an actress, so she was a liberal. And my dad would see certain things and say, we should do it this way, we should do it that way. And the people got around my mom and pulled her away, much like, Kim is a Christian, but she has people who want her to go to Interview magazine and put her ass out while she's a 40-something-year-old multi-billionaire with 4 Black children. And this is what how fashion wants to, how they want to present her.
Yeah.
So I know you give these questions and I give you like these 3-part answers. Is this a cool format for you?
Yeah, I love it.
Okay, cool.
And I am following it.
All right.
So you said that your father said when he saw the shirt, White Lives Matter, it's great to see a black man stating the obvious. So by which I think you meant that's obviously true.
Yeah, that my favorite response, because I kept on thinking, like, you know, people, they're looking for an explanation, and people say, well, as an artist, you don't have to give an explanation, but as a leader, you do.
Yes, I think that's right.
Oh boy, good stuff. There's more to that, where he talks about obesity, and I think we'll have to hit it later. We need to talk to Eben Thampy. We're going to get him on the live stream about Joe Biden's announcement yesterday that he is, going to reschedule cannabis possibly? Pardon nonviolent drug offenders? I already see people over in the live stream complaining. Camelia's like, it's not good enough. It's never good enough for us. We're libertarians, and we will never be happy until there is no government telling us what to do at all. Good morning, Agorizer. Good morning, Ron Helton. Good morning, Adam Armstrong. Good morning, Josh Douglas. Good morning, Collie Chase Farrington. Glad to have you here on the Wake Up America show with Austin Petersen. We'll be back with more of the show on wakeupamericashow.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
American conservatism is distinct, like America is distinct from the United Kingdom. American conservatism's roots comes out of the Wild West, out of pioneerism. The difference between American conservatives and European conservatives is that Americans are cowboys. We are that God, guns, gold, and girls. It's wild here. And we should stay that way. We shouldn't allow a European version of conservatism to come and infect us here. We like it wide open spaces here, deep in the heart of Texas and all that.
Wife. I want to thank you all for watching the Wake Up America show with Austin Petersen. This show has been a huge venture for our family, so we would love it if you could join us.
I believe in liberty, and I believe in Austin's ability to spread the ideas of liberty. Do you?
I want to ask you today to join Petersen's Patriots with a pledge of $17.76 a month. Help us to stay cancel-proof so we can spread the message of limited government across the country. I joined Petersen's Patriots myself, just in a little different way. Visit wakeupamericashow.com/support and make your pledge today.
Average Americans are turning into conspiracy theorists at an unprecedented rate. Flip City Magazine was created for new converts to aid in their in-depth research along the path of absolute truth. We offer the hardest-hitting news and opinion, delivered uncensored in print directly to your door. Display proudly on your coffee table, or hide discreetly under your mattress. Flip City is the magazine they don't want you to see, much less read. Subscribe to Flip City Magazine today at flipcitymag.com.
Speaker Pelosi's husband, Paul, made a big investment in chips just before Congress votes on a bill that would give $52 billion in subsidies and tax credits to the chip industry.
Over the course of your career, has your husband ever made a stock purchase or sale based on information he received from you?
No. And I believe if you come to our border, you will be turned back. Do not come. Do not come.
Have you ever received a royalty payment from a company that you later oversaw money going to that company?
You know, I don't know as a fact, but I doubt it.
Well, here's the thing is, why don't you let us know?
feature underneath. The more people who watch it over there, the better, to help us grow the website and to build a strong presence over there. All right, let's get the show on the road. Mocking the police. It's not a crime. Joining us now to discuss a First Amendment case that prompted The Onion to step in and write an amicus brief to explain how parody works. Camelia Petersen joining us live. Good morning, CJ. How are you doing today?
Good morning. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today, CJ. So what does this case hinge on? If you wouldn't mind, give us our listeners a sort of brief background on how this case came to be.
Sure. Well, apparently, back in 2016, a man created a Facebook page that was a spoof of the Parma, Ohio Police Department. And there are other, I mean, like, if nobody's seen it, there are other, parody pages of various government agencies, including police departments out there that are hilarious. So apparently this guy, Anthony Novak, created this page, and it should have been pretty obvious because, it included like a job notice that said the department is strongly encouraging minorities to not apply and, advertising a police abortion van for teenagers, warning that, the city had been giving homeless people food. or making giving homeless people food a crime so that they would leave our city due to starvation, and other just like really crazy things. And apparently the page was only up for 12 hours and the police department received 11 calls in that time on their non-emergency line. Nobody was calling 911. So anyway, that they decided that that was not appropriate, and so they arrested him.
So wait a minute. So this Anthony Novak guy, he basically set up a spoof of his local police department on a Facebook page, made all these jokes of these satires like, don't, minorities can't apply. It's illegal to give homeless people food and stuff. And the community wasn't fooled by it, but the police, the reason why they arrested him is because they thought that they were interfering with police business, or what was the justification for the arrest?
Right. Well, they said that he violated some state law that kind of was broadly worded about using a computer to disrupt, interrupt, or impair police services. And it's a felony. Wow. Punishable by up to 18 months in prison. But yeah, he would have had a felony on his record.
Jesus. Okay. So a felony for setting up a Facebook page making fun of his local police officers. So he gets arrested and he goes to trial. What happens?
He goes to trial, and the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Sixth Circuit ruled that, he had the jury. Well, first of all, the jury acquitted Novak. They obviously recognized that this was ridiculous. This was parody itself. But then Novak sued 7 of those police officers for violating his First Amendment rights, and the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Sixth Circuit ruled that the defendants were protected by qualified immunity, which brings up a whole nother can of worms. And they gave a couple of reasons. And basically, the case was presented to a grand jury, and it kind of went on. And so this has kind of gone up the ladder. And now the Onion has filed an amicus brief because they became aware of this and said, this affects us too. So they jumped into the fray, and it is so funny. I haven't gotten to read the entire amicus brief yet. There's like 23 pages to it, but I mean, they're in there saying that, the Onion is the world's leading news publication, offering highly acclaimed, universally revered coverage of breaking national, international, local news, rising from humble beginnings in 1756. So it says they enjoy a daily readership of 4.3 trillion, and on it goes. And it is just, they, make full use of that. Although they have some, they make a serious case in here too. When they talk about, can Americans be put in jail for poking fun at their government? And their point is like, this is a surprise to America's finest news source. And, uncomfortable, because that's what they do. Is their business model is based on, poking their finger in the eye of repressive authoritarian regimes like the Islamic Republic of Iran, North Korea, various presidential administrations. And so this is free speech. And so they are making their case for it. And it's sad that you have to point these things out, because you'll always have some of the very serious people who don't get the jokes. So
Well, I think I was reading in the story here that the one police detective, Thomas Connor, claimed that the parody, that people honest to God believed the parody was the real Facebook page. But then after Novak sued him, the detective admitted that was not true. If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show with Austin Petersen, I'm talking to Camellia Petersen right now. She's an S-O-N and I'm an S-E-N. No, we are not related.
Not related.
No, you can text the show at 573-319-1586. Camellia, I'd like to move on to another topic. You sent me this story yesterday about the state of Louisiana divesting itself from BlackRock, this gigantic mega corporation, because of their environmental social governance policies, these ESGs. Do you want to give our listeners a little bit of info about that?
Well, I have just a little, because I haven't done a deep dive into it. Our friend Jamie Marie Pope actually sent that to me last night. She was like, what in the world is going on with this? And so we just got to looking a little bit, and BlackRock is a big investment company, and they, as part of their policy, have these ESG policies in place. And the state of Louisiana said, look, this is going to, decimate us. We cannot, there's no way that we can keep, putting our money and do anything with these kind of policies in place. So they're like, we're out. And I think that's great. I think they're not the only state to do that. I think there have been a few other states that have done that as well. But that's pretty exciting to see, that the states actually making a stand, publicly like that against those policies, because we've already seen what ESG policies do in other governments around the world. I mean, look what happened in Sri Lanka, the Dutch farmers that just like decimated their living. They can't grow crops. So yeah, it's good to see.
Camelia, the conversation about ESGs has really picked up with the purchase of Twitter by Elon Musk. Now, I was talking this morning about the push by the United Nations and many of these nonprofit groups and their push to try and control free speech online. But a lot of these corporations, their ESG policies aren't just damaging economically, but they're damaging to free speech, because a lot of these companies push for these kinds of censorship policies online. I guess, a question that's related to this is, I mean, how optimistic are you for Elon Musk? Should he take over Twitter for, sort of changing the climate and changing the culture online? Do you have a lot of hope for him to be able to do that?
I do have hope for him to be able to do that, although I will say it's probably not, it's going to make everybody unhappy in some way because, he may bring back, or he may do policies that bring back, people who have been banned from the platform. But at the same time, he's not necessarily going to, there's not going to be, I don't think, any retribution. And sometimes I think conservatives would like to see a little retribution for, and I understand that.
Yeah, no kidding.
But I don't think there's going to be any of that. I think it would be as it should be. I hope that that's what'll end up happening. I was really encouraged, people just villainized Jack Dorsey for so long, and you don't always know what's going on behind the scenes. And those texts that came out between him and Elon, and, what Jack Dorsey's vision had been for Twitter as a platform, entirely different from what it became, as it started to come under the control of other people. But, when Elon said, what was that tweet about that he said that Twitter was basically the next step towards an X app or something like that, was like everything. So I don't understand a lot of that, but there's enough promise there in the innovation that's going to come with that I find it really exciting.
If you're just tuning in, I'm speaking to Camelia Petersen. You can text the show 573-319-1586. One listener texted in and said they heard Florida and Texas are divesting from private capital. A lot of these entities love to screw housing prices to make them unattainable for young people like BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard. Yet many of these entities are also making very low-cost options when it comes to your 401k or your Roth IRA options. Another listener texted in and says Elon has blown it out of the water. The others will be forced to follow because of market demand. And Dorsey colluded, they says. You can text us too, 573-319-1586. Camelia, here at 8:30 this morning, I'm going to start talking about the market.
As a medic, to be there to help my patients, and after an injury, I found myself as a patient. I experienced post-traumatic seizures. Depression is a big one that comes along with it, PTSD. So I pursued my PhD in neuroscience and regenerative medicine. The coalition has helped fund my academic pursuits. They genuinely care about helping the vet in whatever way that they can. Through supporting the coalition, you're supporting some of the veterans that have the biggest needs.
Visit saluteheroes.org to learn more.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
had enough yet? Do facts no longer matter? Are lies to be encouraged instead of punished? This is not our inheritance. If truth no longer matters, we will not remain free for long. This is our generation's challenge, to defend our founders' hope that we the people could self-govern if we defend our right to get the facts. And right now, we're building the only defense of free people have, the facts, on every politician, every position they held, every statement they've made, every vote they've made, and any cash they've taken. It's the real history on those now pandering for your vote. There are hundreds of young people building our defense right now, and they need your help. We all have our passions, but as our ancestors knew, when events become so foul they threaten us all, we must stand and defend each other. Please, have our backs. Join us at votesmart.org.
What would happen if I had to pick up the phone, call 911 for one of my family members or one of my neighbors? What would I do if no one was on the other end to respond? What if there was no 911? So you can be a part of the solution.
Anybody can be a firefighter, male, female, younger, older.
We have school teachers, we have leaders in business.
Is me, you, anyone that wants to be.
There is no typical firefighter.
Halloween is coming. The festival of Samhain approaches, and your lazy butt doesn't have a Halloween costume yet? How can you pledge allegiance to the Dark Lord this year and possibly offend everyone at the same time? Visit the AP for Liberty shop and get your shirt today. The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government, and I'm here to help. So grab your government is scary tea and tell everyone at the party that you're here to help. Other great seasonal items are available as well, so don't miss out. And visit AP for Liberty Shop today. That's apforlibertyshop.com.
Good morning, it's 7:52. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show with Austin Petersen. Glad to have you here. So grateful to have your support and your friendship. We're a great community here. We've got a great guest coming up here in just a moment. Ethan Thampy will be joining me to talk about President Joe Biden pardoning thousands of Americans convicted of simple possession of marijuana under the federal law, as his administration has been taking a big step towards decriminalization and addressing charging practices that disproportionately have impacted people of color. Joining me now to discuss this one is Ethan Thampy. He's a cannabis, shall we say enthusiast, or how about just lobbyist right now? Good morning, Ethan. Thanks so much for joining us on the program this morning.
Always good to be here, Austin.
Yeah, I've seen and heard a lot of mixed reactions to what the president did. So if you wouldn't mind, could you just kind of lay this out, the bare bones of what the president announced yesterday?
President Biden yesterday did a really historic act. This is not the end of federal marijuana prohibition, but this is the beginning of the end. He did 3 things. Number 1, he announced federal blanket pardon, a general pardon protocol for federal marijuana offenders with simple possession offenses. And I want to highlight the historic nature of this act. This is very similar to what President Franklin Delano Roosevelt did in 1932. He pardoned some 3,000 alcohol offenders, federal alcohol offenders who'd been convicted under the Volstead Act. And that forced Congress to ratify the 21st Amendment. Likewise, this clemency action by the president, using the unrivaled constitutional clemency authority he has, Biden joins about 1/3 of American presidents who have established such a general clemency protocol. This should force Congress to act to legalize, to end the federal prohibition on marijuana and fully legalize this plant. While you got to think, if president is now establishing general clemency for simple possession, he's functionally legalizing it, even though Congress hasn't changed the law, because anyone who gets arrested with a federal possession charge can now go get clemency from the president. The second thing the president is doing has ordered Health and Human Services Secretary Becerra to initiate the rescheduling protocol under the Controlled Substances Act. This requires 4 federal agencies to work together: Health and Human Services, NIDA, DEA, FDA, and there's one more I'm forgetting, but you get it. And the question that this raises up is, should we deschedule marijuana, remove it from the federal list of controlled substances, or should we reschedule it to Schedule 2 or 3 and have it be regulated through the Controlled Substances Act? This is going to be a big fight. I'm on the side of people who believe we should take it out of the Controlled Substances Act completely. FDA can still regulate any kind of prescribed cannabinoid medicine, and this would really free up. Descheduling would functionally federally legalize marijuana completely, would allow interstate commerce, all kinds of good things. The third thing the president did yesterday is call on state governors to follow him and issue general pardons and general clemency actions for state marijuana offenders. So truly a historic day. President Biden is finally keeping his campaign promises on this issue. He's getting a lot of praise from across the political spectrum, but some criticism too, and we can talk about that maybe.
What are your thoughts on this? Send me a text, 573-319-1586. We'd love to hear from you on this topic and what the president did. One listener texted in and said that I think he was on the call for the LP when we decided not to support Amendment 3. What is Amendment 3? Missouri is looking at trying to legalize recreational cannabis, but all the people who are for legalization of cannabis are against it. Epen, why is that?
The legal marijuana cartel in the state that was formed by the Medical Marijuana Constitutional Initiative is backing a second constitutional ballot campaign, Amendment 3, on the November ballot. This would monopolize the recreational marijuana space for the industry that already controls the licensing right now. But the worst part about it, the thing that I am most upset about, is this Amendment 3 creates a constitutional law enforcement mandate to stop and cite people for public consumption of marijuana. It creates a new constitutional possession limit, which I'm opposed to governmental restrictions on the amount and kind of personal property you can own. And this possession limit comes with a Missouri constitutional possession misdemeanor penalty. And they don't remove marijuana either from Missouri's controlled substances list and statutory criminal penalties, including felonies. So you can still go to prison, get arrested, get prosecuted, go to prison, spend 10 years maybe in prison for, more than 6 ounces. I have a problem with that. It's a waste of law enforcement resources. It is very clearly what the people of Missouri have said they are tired of and do not want. And the corrupt medical marijuana campaign, the corrupt medical marijuana cartel with their recreational campaign on Amendment 3 is attempting to put marijuana criminal penalties in our Constitution. I'm absolutely opposed to this.
We're speaking to Epen Thampy this morning. He is a marijuana lobbyist here in the state of Missouri. You can text the show at 573-319-1586. So what the president did yesterday, does that impact what's happening in the states at all? Because he said that he was asking for the states to follow the federal lead. But I mean, if Missouri passes this bill or Missouri passes this ballot initiative this fall, I mean, we could have, harsher criminal penalties in the state of Missouri than there would be federally, right?
Yeah, like the president with his clemency action offering a general pardon to all simple possession federal offenders has functionally legalized possession of marijuana in under federal law. Right now, if the state of Missouri passes Amendment 3, you could be a felon for possession of more than 6 ounces, a quantity that Joe Biden would give you a full pardon for if you were arrested and prosecuted under the federal law. So it would be absolutely absurd to have federally legal interstate commerce if this is descheduled, to have federally legal possession, yet you could come to the state of Missouri and be a criminal again under Amendment 3.
One last question before I let you go, Epen. How do you get a federal marijuana charge, a nonviolent federal marijuana charge, and not a state federal charge? I mean, does the FBI just happen to be the ones who bust you? Or, I mean, how does that work?
Well, it's an unfortunate situation, but yeah, I got prosecuted a few years ago for a federal marijuana, distribution charge. Don't really have time to get into the specifics of that, but long and short, there was a pretty serious investigation involving some larger marijuana multi-state operators who gotten into some serious issues. And, I just happened to, be one of the, ends of the chain here in Columbia, Missouri. It's an unfortunate situation, but I'm very grateful and glad the American people changed their mind on this issue and that the president is taking these proactive steps to address prohibition and to end federal prohibition. So I look forward, hopefully, to in the next few years potentially getting this off my record. I know that Congress has members of Congress are proposing expungement legislation to go beyond the federal president's clemency action for simple possession, and I'm hopeful to be working on that next year.
Good stuff. Epen Thampi, he's a cannabis lobbyist here in the state of Missouri, and he is opposing Amendment 3. Epen, thank you very much for coming on the show today. We appreciate you.
Always a pleasure, my friend.
Have a good one. All right. Yeah, we got to talk to Epen. What did you think of him? Send us a text, 573-319-1586. Laura Langton. Liberty Laura is already sending me messages about her topic when she joins me at 8:30. She's texting me this morning talking about the topic. It's a spicy one. Would you rather have your partner cheat on you physically or emotionally? And the answers, oh God. When I asked Stephanie last night, my wife, would you rather I cheat on you physically or emotionally? I was not prepared for her answer to that. What would you do? What would you prefer? Send me a text, 573-319-1586. Laura looks like she's had a good conversation with her spouse. Coming up next at 8:05, we're going to talk to Ian Smith about the crisis of young boys here in the United States. All that and more on the Wake Up America show at wakeupamericashow.com.
Hello, my name is Kelvin. Welcome to Frenchy Bush. This is my Didi's website. Now I've decided to speak to you with my real voice for the first time ever to tell you about how cool Frenchy Bush is. But I've decided that this is the perfect opportunity to share with you. Frenchy Bush is a good website. You should follow us on socials. If you like Frenchies or any kind of bulldogs, me and my new brother George are going to try to make your life more fun.
Hello, I'm George. My neck isn't really thick yet, but it will be. We are so glad you're here. Please ignore my floating eyeball. It helps me spot predators who might be approaching from the sides.
Didi made Frenchy Bush to review things that he uses on me and my brother to tell you if it's good or bullshit. Take this collar, for example. Didi really likes it. Didi said it's really handy because us Frenchies got thick necks. Need something really tough. People think Frenchies are little, but if you look at us from below, you can see we are really pretty buff. Beefcake. Yes. Look at my creamy thighs and chest. Yes. You like that?
Big brother, please focus.
Frenchy Bush. Please follow us for more great content and read the Frenchy Bush blog for more fun and cool stuff.
I'm a public defender.
I am a public defender.
I'm proud to be a public defender.
80% of Americans accused of a crime will get appointed a public defender.
Everybody from a speeding ticket to capital murder.
For every dollar we spend on public defenders, we spend $3 on prosecutors.
Public defenders have to do pretty much everything on their own.
Social workers, counselors.
Investigating is another piece of it.
The average public defender holds 300 cases annually.
You never feel like there's enough time.
Public defenders have health issues all the time.
A lot of people give up and say, I can't do this work anymore.
Gideon's Promise trains, mentors, and supports public defenders.
There are a lot of people who say that they would not still be public defenders, but for Gideon's Promise.
It's fueled me to continue on in this fight.
Gideon's Promise has changed the face of public defense.
People see us as troublemakers.
Good trouble only.
We don't make it easy. It should not be easy to take away someone's liberty.
Ever hear the one about the frog?
Put a frog in a pot of boiling water and it'll jump right out.
Here's my resume again.
But put a frog in a pot of cool water and slowly heat it up, and that frog will boil. It's a lie. But as a metaphor for us and all that we go through as veterans,
Do you have any real-world experience?
it's a story that rings true. We make excuses for how we feel. We push everything down. We tell ourselves the lie that it's easier to stay in that boiling water, to disconnect. And some days, maybe it is. But you've never been interested in easy. Make no mistake, reaching out is hard. Do it anyway.
I need help.
You're not alone. You've got this. You are not a frog.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
The Biden administration's student loan forgiveness plan this week was met with its first significant legal challenge by a conservative legal group representing a man whose standing rests on the case that the forgiveness plan subjects him to state income taxes that he would otherwise not have to pay. This man belongs to a subset of student loan borrowers who is enrolled in a public student loan forgiveness program, which promises automatic student loan cancellation. The trick with these lawsuits around the student loan forgiveness program is that current Supreme Court precedent requires that a plaintiff prove current or future injury or harm, which could include financial injury, even if it's as little as $1. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, and I hate to break it to you, but taxpayers as a class cannot sue based on their opposition to a government program and their resistance to help fund it. So in response to this lawsuit this week, the Biden administration announced that their student loan forgiveness program will have an opt-out option for anyone who chooses not to participate. The Pentagon this week approved a $1.1 billion additional weapons transfer from the United States to the country of Ukraine. That would double the amount of rocket launchers and include other equipment like radars and armored vehicles. But here's the catch. The equipment won't actually reach Ukraine for several more years. Now, the reason for this delay is that the weapons won't be pulled from existing American weapons stockpiles, but will be instead produced by new contracts for American defense firms. Now, at the same time, Congress is set to approve a continuing resolution to fund the government through mid-December, and inside that continuing resolution is enough funding for the country of Ukraine that would put America on pace to fund a majority of Ukraine's national budget for this year.
Good morning. It's 8:08 and you're watching the Wake Up America show with Austin Petersen. It's time to rise in freedom. Thanks so much for joining us on the show. My next guest is going to talk to us about an ongoing topic that we've been discussing this week, the crisis of American boys. Why are American boys losing in education, in the workforce, and in their social lives? Joining us now is Ian Smith. You know him as a hero who fought to keep his gym open during the COVID-19 pandemic at Ian Smith Fitness on Instagram and many other apps. Good morning, Ian. Thank you for joining us today.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me. My pleasure.
Yeah, Ian, you seem like a really masculine guy. You're the type of guy who, most guys would probably say, wow, if there was a picture in the dictionary of Chad or the Chad meme, Ian Smith is the living Chad meme. So we're looking forward to hearing from you on this topic.
Absolutely. It's something that is very important to me as I think a general focus. How we kind of help kind of regain what this country is all about. I think having a strong masculine energy and a strong masculine presence is important. And I think over the last couple decades, that has sort of been eroded, and it's more apparent than ever. You can look at men of all ages, men my age in their 30s, a little bit older, all the way down to our boys. And I think that men are suffering, and I think a lot of men are starting to realize that something's amiss. But I think that a lot of them can't quite put their finger on what that might be.
If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, we're speaking to Ian Smith. Many of you know him as a hero during the COVID-19 lockdowns who refused to close his gym in New Jersey, and also his run for office. Camelia Petersen over on the live stream this morning says that she follows you for your philosophical content as well. Ian, in talking about the crisis of masculinity for boys, I think that, the obvious push is, that we need to have, more masculine values and virtues. However, like the problem is that people have a really difficult time defining what masculine values and virtues are. If you ask people what it means to be a woman and what femininity is, it's very easy. People, man on the street questions, you go out there, people will tell you what it means to be a woman. But it's a lot harder to pin down and define what is a man. Why do you think that is? And do you have an idea of what you would define as masculine virtues?
I think that's a really good observation. I think a lot of men are having a really tough time just kind of connecting with who they are, and I think that's a result of a lot of muddying of the waters. This was a very, very masculine culture up until a couple decades ago, and with the civil rights movement and this push for feminism and stuff. I think that the pendulum swung back, which I think is a good thing. You need to have a good balance between masculine energy and feminine energy, both in the home and through every level of society up there in our communities and in our society as a whole. But I think the pendulum has kind of swung too far into that feminine direction. And over the last couple of decades, men, the traditional idea of men being providers and protectors, people who are capable, or humans who are capable of enormous amounts of work and carrying heavy burdens in the sense of providing. And then this idea now that has perpetrated culture that men are supposed to be docile. So you've taken away their two fundamental roles. If you look back in history, that is the job of a man. A man's value was derived directly from his ability to protect himself, as well as his sort of tribe of other men, brothers and uncles and whatever, friends, but also being able to protect his family, his legacy, his wife, his children, his mother, the more physically vulnerable people in his life. That's job number one. And then job number two is to provide for them. As you can look as far back in history as you want to go. And those two things have always been fundamental in masculinity, and defining strong, good men. And our society has moved away from that. We've, a large portion of the women in our society, especially the young women, are out in the workforce, and are staying in the workforce much longer. A lot of these women are not interested in having children at a young age for one reason or another. And I think that sort of, while that's a good thing, you should encourage women to do what they want. I think
so
men are starting to lose their purpose. Yeah, sure.
I want to interject on that point there, because Ian, what's interesting is that, in the manosphere, you have like these multiple different, ideologies and philosophies. You have men going their own way. You have the red pill, you have the black pill, and you have the incel community and all of that. But one of the things that I've observed, and I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on this, is that in modern society, if you go out there and you ask a woman what she wants, she will tell you that she wants a man who is a provider. She will say that she wants the things that a man provides that you just listed off there, and I would agree with you on that. But when you flip the script and you ask, what does a woman provide, it's nothing, right? It's either their looks, or they're admitting that the only thing that they have to offer to a man or will offer to a man is sex. So here's the problem, Ian, and that as I see it, in terms of the gender roles. women have been freed from their gender roles, right? They're free to go out into the workplace. They're free to do as they please, and they're encouraged to do that. Men are not free, and men have not been released from their gender roles. The responsibility of paying on the first date, the responsibility of providing, the responsibility of caretaking, and all that. So, if that's the case, and if you agree with me that that is the case, is the answer to that women need to be pushed back into their gender roles? Or is the answer that men need to be freed from their gender roles as well?
It's a really good question, and I agree with most of what you said there. Absolutely, women have been told, especially young women, and you're definitely seeing a turnaround of a lot of women who are starting to look at what they've been told is like equality, and a lot of women are starting to be like, they're just not making a lot of sense. But nonetheless, women have been freed from those roles because the traditional roles of women in a society is, to come of age and to be a mother. And that's the most important job that anybody could ever have, ever. It trumps everything, because if we can't create strong children and pass on our legacy as a society and pass on our values through our children and raise them appropriately, eventually you will see a decline. And I think that's what you've seen a lot. You see now women have been freed from that role, and that's totally fine. It's personal choice, but I think a lot of women have been sold on it without really looking at the possible ramifications of them being a full-time worker instead of a full-time mom. And you have these households of dual income households where at the end of the day, both people come home exhausted, and you have a household that doesn't have that loving, nurturing, full of love feeling. So women really have been released of that, and men, they've been told that their gender role isn't important anymore. So they haven't been released of their gender role. They've been told that they're doing the wrong thing, and that now what they're supposed to do is they're supposed to be agreeable. They're not supposed to question women. They're not supposed to have any opinion on the family structure. They're not supposed to have any opinion on abortion or anything like that unless they agree with what the woman wants. They're sort of being stifled, and they're being shamed for wanting to fulfill that traditional role. I mean, there's nothing more in the world that I want as a 36-year-old man than to provide for my family, than to not have my wife have to work, to have her be able to really just focus on the most important thing, which is raising our children and being the boss of the household and being that person who creates the atmosphere for excellence in all members of the family, including herself. And men are just, now it's like you said, it's you still have to pay for the date, you still have to do this, you're still supposed to be super nice, and you're supposed to just sort of throw away the things that are important to you. Men value purity in women. That's genetically hardwired. It's biologically in us. That's why men seek women who are pure. And I'm looking for another word. But
no, we get it. Now, if you're just tuning, I was just going to say, go ahead, finish your thought.
Now men are forced to accept a lower standard by their standards, right? Don't get that confused, because everybody can have their own standards. But men in general are told that they have to accept a lower standard of woman, a woman who now in her 30s, after she's been, doing whatever she chooses in her 20s, sleeping with people, whatever, which you're allowed to do. But then men are now being told that once that woman's ready to have a child, now you have to just be a dad and just accept that for what it is. And it's like, that goes against everything that's inside a man. And the standards for men have been raised, and the standards for women have been lowered. And it's
There's
I
something
think
biological about that, right? With the constant raising of standards with men, because the standards of men have always been very high. I mean, like, let's be honest, men will sleep with just about anything, but a woman has always had standards, and those standards will
women are always the gatekeepers.
women will always be the gatekeepers. But I want to sort of change the subject of this, not exactly the subject, but like topically here, to the question of toxic masculinity. And it's the kind of topic that guys like us who are broadly right wing, you might say, that we'll roll our eyes when we hear the leftist media talking about it. But one of the things that I like to discuss is the concept of how men police other men's masculinity, and how the concept of masculinity has changed over the centuries. Right? If you go back to, for example, homosexuality in men is considered not unmasculine, but it wasn't considered unmasculine when the ancient Greeks had relationships. They only saw women as lesser men, and they had real relationships, intimate relationships with other men, and women were really just for procreating and for doing the chores and all of that. Obviously, that we don't consider that to be the modern version of masculinity. That has changed throughout time. But we as men, women police masculinity in how they behave and show what kind of men that they want and what kind of men they find desirous, what they deem to be chads, right? So they're like, okay, well, this, chads and tyrones, that's how they police masculinity, by saying, this is what we like. We like tall men, we like muscular men, we like scary men, we like bad boys and all that kind of stuff. But men police each other's masculinity too, in deciding what hobbies you're allowed to enjoy. For example, I've never been into sports, don't give a shit. Like to play sports, never sat down and watched one on TV.
Same.
Never gave a shit, don't care. But men like to police other men, see that as a sign of, being unmasculine, right? If you're into philosophy, if you're into the arts, if you're into music, if you're into things that are not considered unmasculine, right, then men like to go out and we police each other's masculinity. So in dealing with how women are treating men, that's something that's beyond you and I, perhaps, to solve. We're not going to fix women, but maybe we can.
That's 100% true.
But maybe we can fix men in having a conversation about how we police each other's masculinities. Is this a phenomenon that you notice? And I mean, we probably, I've engaged in it. You've engaged it. Sometimes I like to make fun of my friends who watch football and tell them that they're all pussies for watching football, and they're because they should be watching the UFC, where two men don't have pads and they're beating the shit out of each other. And you're a weenie if you're actually watching football, because these guys.
Or they should be at jiu-jitsu themselves.
Right.
Or they should be out playing the sport themselves.
Right. Something like that. Right. And that's it. It really infuriates them when you come at a man and try and police their masculinity in a zone that they have felt comfortable their whole life. Like, this is a masculine activity, and if anybody ever attacks my masculinity in this, then I'm going to get very uncomfortable and I'm going to lash out with rage. So I mean, there is a sort of a toxic masculinity there. Am I wrong or right? What do you think?
No, 100%. I think that the value system that men have right now has been fed to them. I don't think it's an organic value system. Once upon a time, men used to come together on a regular basis and spend time together. And that was some of the most valuable time for men, because it allowed them the opportunity to communicate intimately, to talk about what it means to be a man, what it means to be a father, a son, a brother, all of these things. It was a place where, and there was all sorts of activities. There used to be men's clubs. There used to be, a much higher rate of physical activity among men, and a whole host of other things. And I think that we've sort of just lost our way in the modern world. It's, this idea that spending time with your boys is going to the bar and watching football for 8 hours in a day is a ludicrous idea. Spending an hour out on a trail hiking with one of your best friends is far superior than 8 hours of slugging beers and watching other men be active. And it's like, we have this value system now where most men are so out of touch with what they want, whatever it is, what they want to do and how they want to spend their time, whether it's philosophy, music, whatever, that they just they accept these sort of like prepackaged ideas of masculinity, like you got to watch football and you got to follow the sports teams that you like and you got to hate the other team. And yeah, sure, that's all fun. Don't get me wrong. I like to see my home team win too. But what I'm more interested in is like, how are my friends doing? How are the men that I call my friends and my brothers, how are they feeling? I want to see them doing good things. I want to see them excelling in their careers. I want to see them meeting a beautiful woman who they fall in love with and be fruitful and multiply with. I want to see them be the best physical specimen they can be, because now I know that man, who is also my friend, is capable of protecting me. He's got my 6, I got his. And it's like, we just have this society of men who have been told that all of the traditional things, violence, just men spending time together, men being loud and confrontational, and not so agreeable and docile, and the list goes on and on and on. They've been told that all these things are toxic, and what they are not is toxic. A man should have a very, very, very good understanding of what violence is and how to be violent. And along with that, he should also develop the capacity to control that violence and never use it in a way to harm others, and only in a way to protect what is near and dear to his heart. And instead, violence is completely pushed away. No, you can't be violent as a man. You can't play contact sports. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't fight. Let's bulletproof the whole world for you. We don't want you to get hurt. We don't want you to feel any pain, any suffering, anything like that. We want you to just get your 9-to-5 job, go to college, join a fraternity. You'll have some semblance of a little bit of a brotherhood there, but you guys don't really connect on a very, very intimate level, because it's all about partying. It's all about kind of like letting loose. There's not a whole lot of constructive time that men spend together. And because of that, we're not policing ourselves. We're kind of shrinking into our own little small social circle, where a lot of men have just kind of checked out. I think they're tired of being told that they're the problem. You hear it all the time, the patriarchy and the this and the that, and all of society's problems are placed on the shoulders of young men who have had nothing to do with it. So they're tired of being yelled at. They're tired of being told that they're wrong. They're tired of being told that they're toxic. You know what? So they say, all right, I'll go watch football. Leave me the fuck alone. And that is very dangerous, because for each man that checks out, somebody loses a brother, somebody loses their support system. And that has a really, really big snowball effect if we allow it to, where men are just losing touch with who they should be. And that doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be X, Y, and Z. But we're just accepting these prepackaged ideas of masculinity, and you're winding up with the softest of men that have, I mean, every generation of men is softer than the one that has come before it. This country, whether or not your ancestors came over willingly or not, any race, creed, religion of people who came over, the people who came before us were tough as nails, and they made it work. And it's just like a lost art these days, where men are just really putting their heads down, being distracted, and just kind of hoping to land a nice woman one day that won't be too mean to them. But they have very little value system, and they don't stand up for themselves, and you saw it, like I said before that we talked. The country's going to hell in a handbasket. And the most you'll get out of most men is a meme. You won't get these people showing up at school board meetings. You won't get these guys stepping out and saying, I'm going to run for office. You're not getting people who are willing to sacrifice maybe their job or some sort of whatever comfort it is to say, no, this is wrong. COVID was one example, but the examples are many. It's like everybody's afraid to be silenced, and everybody's afraid to pay the price for a free society now. And it keeps getting worse. And that our younger generation, I think, is being coddled to the point and confused to the point that masculinity humanity if there's not a major turnaround and overhaul by men who say, no, we're going to take the reins from here. You're not going to tell us how to be men. And we're going to do us. And if you don't like us, that's fine. But we're going to continue to do us. And you see that. You see cultures and pockets developing, like, places in the manosphere and groups all over the country. Men are starting to return to that and say, you know what? I am just sick and fucking tired of being a dud. I'm tired of being out of shape and overweight. I'm tired of being weak. I'm tired of watching other men accomplish things. So I think it's a good thing. But I think that we'll probably slide a little bit further as well before most men really, really realize that they've slid pretty far. And it's a health crisis too.
Yeah,
you can tie that right into the testosterone levels that decline by 1% every year, 10% per decade. The average man's testosterone levels these days is below 500, which is dismal compared to your father, your grandfather, and before that. And the science is unequivocal. I mean, there's no debating it that men get less physically and biologically manly with every generation.
Oh man, that is some devastating stuff. But just remember, it's always darkest before dawn. Ian Smith, is there anything else that you think our listeners should know before I let you go?
For the men that are listening, if any of that resonates with you, if anything that we talked about today resonates with you, start building your tribe. Reach out to some old friends you haven't talked to. Do some shit that's fun. That's not your prepackaged Sunday night. Get out, be physical, find other men who are willing to push you. If you don't have those people in your life, seek them out, and stay in your lane. Don't worry about what anybody else says. And to the women out there who are desperately looking for men like that, support every man you can like that, including your own.
Including you and me. Ian Smith, you can find him on Twitter and on many other social networks, including Instagram. Ian, hey, great conversation today. Thanks for your time. Have a great weekend.
Thanks for having me. See you later.
Good stuff. What did you think of Ian Smith? Send us a text, 573-319-1586. We'd love to hear from you. Wow, that was good stuff. I got a lot to say about that. Maybe we should talk to Liberty Laura about it. She's probably waiting for me right now, wondering, hey, we got to get this interview going. Yes, we do. I will get there. We'll be right back with more. Liberty Laura is going to talk about whether or not she would want her husband to physically cheat or emotionally cheat. All that and more on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
American conservatism is distinct, like America is distinct from the United Kingdom. American conservatism's roots comes out of the Wild West, out of pioneerism. The difference between American conservatives and European conservatives is that Americans are cowboys. We are that God, guns, gold, and girls. It's wild here. And we should stay that way. We shouldn't allow a European version of conservatism to come and infect us here. We like it wide open spaces here, deep in the heart of Texas and all that.
The Wake Up America Show with Austin Petersen. This show has been a huge venture for our family, so we would love it if you could join us.
I believe in liberty, and I believe in Austin's ability to spread the ideas of liberty. Do you?
I want to ask you today to join Petersen's Patriots with a pledge of $17.76 a month. Help us to stay cancel-proof so we can spread the message of limited government across the country. I joined Petersen's Patriots myself, just in a little different way. Visit wakeupAmericaShow.com/support and make your pledge today.
average Americans are turning into conspiracy theorists at an unprecedented rate. Flip City Magazine was created for new converts to aid in their in-depth research along the path of absolute truth. We offer the hardest-hitting news and opinion, delivered uncensored in print directly to your door. Display proudly on your coffee table, or hide discreetly under your mattress. Flip City is the magazine they don't want you to see, much less read. Subscribe to Flip City Magazine today at flipcitymag.com.
Speaker Pelosi's husband, Paul, made a big investment in chips just before Congress votes on a bill that would give $52 billion in subsidies and tax credits to the chip industry.
Over the course of your career, has your husband ever made a stock purchase or sale based on information he received from you?
No.
And I believe if you come to our border, you will be turned back. Do not come. Do not come.
Have you ever received a royalty payment from a company that you later oversaw money going to that company?
You know, I don't know as a fact, but I doubt it.
Well, here's the thing is, why don't you let us know?
Good morning, it's 8:36 and you're watching the Wake Up America show with Austin Petersen. Glad to have you here. You can text us at 573-319-1586. All right, you probably know her from her famous TikTok videos that we play on the show every day. Liberty Laura and her TikToks against tyranny. She's joining us on the line right now. Good morning, Liberty Laura. Glad to have you on the show finally.
Good morning, Austin. How's it going?
Going great. Glad to have you here. When I sent you this topic yesterday, I don't have the text message pulled up, but I mean, it took you a little while to respond, but then you said, oh my God, or like some kind of WTF kind of response to this topic. When Megyn Kelly said yesterday on her show that if her husband was going to cheat on her, that she would rather have him cheat on her physically than emotionally. Well, when I asked my wife, Stephanie, about that question, she did not have the exact same response as Megyn Kelly did. What was your response to this, Laura?
Yeah, you're playing with fire there, Austin. I'll actually say that the interview prep for this interview was really healthy for my marriage because Megyn Kelly was talking about in the context of how do you pronounce it? Giselle and Tom Brady getting a divorce. And so they were speculating that Tom Brady there was infidelity going on. And so that was the context of the interview. And so I was telling my husband Jace about this and prep for this interview. And he reassured me several times before this morning that I was hotter than Giselle and that all of his emotional needs are met and that there's nothing to worry about. So thank you for that. But I wonder if my response is similar to Stephanie's because I was thinking about the question, like if I had to choose, like obviously the ideal is that there's no cheating happening. But if I had to pick, the emotional infidelity is bad, but not for the same reason that this person in the interview with Megyn Kelly was suggesting. Like if I found out my husband was crying with another woman, I would just be embarrassed for myself that I was married to such a guy that would have to go and get his emotional needs met and go cry with another woman.
But
like, that's just sad for me.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yes. However, let me just interject on that and say, if he feels the need to cry with another woman, he doesn't feel comfortable with that. doing that in front of you, that indicates that there is a serious problem there, because as a man, it's difficult enough to release your emotions at all. You certainly don't want to do that publicly because of the backlash. I was just talking to my buddy Ian Smith about how men sort of police masculinity, but I mean, women police masculinity too, in displaying their, like, just like you did, kind of their disgust with men showing their emotions in a way, right?
Yeah, and that's a fair point. So also, if he feels like, and you're right, so in agreement, like if he feels like he can't cry in front of me, we obviously have problems in our marriage. But if he cheats on me in terms plus like the sexual, the intimacy, then that means, and if we're talking about like base instinct here, that means that he's rejected my sexual appeal, which means that he's rejected his desire to have children with me. Like that's what this all is about at the end of the day. That's fundamental.
Okay, sure. It is to an extent, but I think here's the problem, and I know some men will disagree with me, but I think I can safely say in general that it is possible for men to have a physical entanglement that doesn't involve any kind of an emotional attachment. And again, some guy disagreed with me this morning and said the opposite, that he doesn't think it's possible to have a physical attachment without an emotional attachment. I'm telling you, it absolutely is possible. I mean,
I don't think we're in a disagreement there for men. For women, it's different. Yeah.
Are you sure? I mean, maybe for the vast majority of women, but I mean, I have known women who have met a man and within 5 minutes or less, they're having sex with him, in a closet or in a bedroom or something like that at a party, and they literally just met them, Laura. And it's so I mean, I'm not saying that all women necessarily are like that, but I mean, a lot of women are like that, Laura.
Do you think they're doing that because they need to get off, or do you think that they're doing it because they want like the validation?
Well,
I think the latter.
Well, maybe both. But I mean, even if they want the validation, that doesn't require any kind of an emotional attachment for you and the other person, right? It's just like, you're just validating. I'm hot. I think I'm hot. I'm hot. He thinks I'm hot. And, yeah, I'm going to get off. But like, really, this is about me feeling good about the fact that the hottest guy at this party wants me.
But that's an intrinsic value for a woman to be hot. It means that she's secure, she's safe. I've got some guy who's attracted to me. He's going to protect me and the kin, and we're going to be good to go through the night. We're going to wake up and we're going to be safe. So that's the kind of validation I'm talking about.
Okay, so all right, if you're just tuning in, we're speaking to Liberty Laura about one of the most uncomfortable topics we've ever breached on the Wake Up America show.
Oh, I like it.
It's a good one. You can text the show at 573-319-1586. We'd love to hear from you on this one. And the question is would you prefer, if your spouse is going to cheat, I know you don't want them to cheat, but if they were going to cheat, would you prefer that it was a physical cheating or an emotional cheating? Now, when it comes to the emotional cheating thing, I mean, it's funny to think about your man like crying with another woman, but I mean, that's kind of like, the parody of that kind of a thing. What we're really talking about here is like, when we say intimacy, I know people think sex, but I mean, like, there are emotional relationships that I have had with women that never entered into the physical realm, that were, unparalleled depth of emotions and complications and complexities. And I don't have any of those relationships now, but I can say that, if I did have that kind of a relationship with a woman now, I would completely understand why a woman would feel more threatened by that than a physical relationship, because like the physical is visceral. So you have like that very strong emotional reaction to it. But I think I absolutely understand what Megyn Kelly is talking about. Maybe a lot of men aren't able to sort of communicate the complexities of the relationships they have with women as much as women are more, vocal and can communicate that. But I think I agree with Megyn that is definitely a much bigger threat to a marriage than just some physical relationship, even if it, gives you that kind of a visceral reaction. I mean, can you see why though?
Yes. And the way that I see this, in the context that I see this now, maybe it's my life stage. A lot of my friends are getting married. I'm recently married. This isn't an intimate relationship, but I see this strain happen with husbands, especially new husbands, and their moms. If they have a really good relationship with their mother, there becomes this strain during the leave and cleave process that should take place when a man gets married. and he should leave and he should cleave from his parents, his primary family, to some degree, you know, in a healthy way. But eventually there's usually a loyalty test. It often comes up around kids or wedding planning, if not, you know, before then. And the husband has to decide whose opinion he values more. Is it his mom's opinion or is it his wife's opinion? And that's a big conflict because, and I'm a mom to sons, so I'm like speaking and like, don't be the crazy mother-in-law in the future. Don't be the crazy mother-in-law in the future. But I can see both sides about how that was hard. My husband and I, we had to set boundaries in place. Be like, listen, when we're sitting down for dinner, just tell your mom we'll call her back. Love your mom. I got super lucky in the mother-in-law roulette.
Mm-hmm.
I have to call her back. She's like a mother to me now, but still there has to be very clear priorities. And we even talked about this in premarital counseling. Like, this is a recurring issue. And that's obviously not a sexual relationship. It's an emotional one. So yes, I can see how there's tension there.
See, I mean, maybe it's just because I'm a different kind. You know, I'm not like your normal, you know, average guy in the way that I think about things and the way I approach my relationships. I'm much more of kind of like an open heart, you know, heart on my sleeve type of a guy. You know, Chris Morrill over in the Facebook live stream says spilling guts is bad, spilling bodily fluids is worse. Just my 2 cents. See, I just don't see it that way because of, you know, the sort of the value that I place on a relationship with a woman. And when I have this relationship, it is so intense and emotional to me. I wouldn't say spiritual because I don't look at things that way, but to me, the emotional relationship that I have with a woman is so much bigger and so much more important than sex. And a lot of people disagree. Over on the YouTube's channel this morning, the Landlord Harassment Channel, that's a funny name, says there's no such thing as emotional cheating. That's a term coined by the left. I totally disagree. What do you think? You can emotionally cheat, right? Yeah. What would you consider emotional cheating? Yeah, go ahead. Tell your story.
Let me tell a story. This is good background. Okay. One of the first dates that I went on with my husband, if you can call it that, before we were married, he made me, I was saying the same thing that you're saying. What are you talking about? Very like pick me vibes. I'm a guy's girl. I've had relationship with men my whole life that have been platonic. There's been nothing happening. And he goes, yeah, okay, Laura, that's for you. But for them, it's different. And so one of our first dates, he drugged me to his bachelor pad not drugged me at, but dragged me to his bachelor pad, to be very clear. In Virginia, and we watched Harry Met Sally. I had never seen that movie. That was one of our very first dates. We did not sit on the same couch. I was mad to be even watching the whole thing. But the theme here is that I eventually married my husband because he like calls me out on my BS when I'm wrong. But so he made me watch Harry Met Sally, and I'll never forget this because I had never considered this before. And when we turned the movie off, he said, "What do you think?" And I said, "Oh my God, everything's a lie." Like, my relationship with men that I had previously, like you discussed, most of them generally, I thought were just these like platonic friendships. But then I think about it and I'm like, oh, maybe there was something else going on their end, not mine. I just think you run the risk. And when you're married, I don't think it's worth running that risk. You run the risk of, and it's not a guarantee, but if you have these deep emotional relationships with women, people of the opposite sex, you run the risk that you'll offend your wife. She's primary. You run the risk that you're going to get in some entanglement with the other party that's not your wife. You run the risk that it'll change for you.
One of the challenges, you know, now that I've been married, our first anniversary is coming up here just the end of this month. One of the things that the challenges that I have is I've always had really good, healthy relationships with women, not in like a guy's girl kind of a way, but I mean, like, for example, like you and I have had a healthy friendship, right? And you know, I have a lot of people in my life that are kind of like you, where it's like, you know, they're women, but you know, we've never dated. It's always been platonic, but it's a very complex and an interesting and engaging relationship. And so now that I'm married, I find myself in a situation where I have to be careful about that. And I don't even, and because I don't know what really the boundaries are for what could be considered cheating. Because, like, if I'm having a direct message, a DM chat with someone, like yourself, that, we have this kind of, like, we have inside jokes, and we have all this, like, banter and things like that. Yeah, I have that with my wife, but I mean, like, every relationship is different. And now I guess I ask myself, like, how do you know when you're emotionally cheating, right? Well, like, at what point is it become emotionally cheating? Is it, if that conversation were to enter the realm of the sexual, then it, obviously is. But I mean, like, how would you even define emotional cheating, I guess?
I think it becomes emotional cheating when it becomes secret, when there's deceit involved. And there was a recent scandal of a prominent Christian pastor, and I'm not familiar with his name at the moment, but he got in trouble because he was Instagram messaging a female friend of his. And there was banter involved, there were jokes involved, and someone got a hold of these messages and tried to call him out and tried to create a scandal. And both spouses on the message recipient's end and then the pastor's end were both like, this is not a scandal. We both knew what was going on. We were aware that they were talking to each other. There was no problem. Cheating is defined between two spouses. And so long as you're sharing that information between the two of you and there's no deceit happening, it's not cheating, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's a good definition, because, like I said to Stephanie, when we first started dating, and then talking about getting married, I was like, just so if you ever want to read my DMs, they are open to you, but I never check hers, because I trust her completely. We're just not the jealous type. But I can see that, yeah, when it starts to be something that you would hide from the other person, that's when like some kind of emotional cheating is going on. But I guess, in terms of, like, getting over it, it just seems to me, and I know that you're going to disagree with me on this. It just seems to me that if you want to repair a relationship, a marriage, then, like, sexually, it's just like, it's whatever. Emotionally, it would seem like much harder to break the bonds and to recover from an emotional cheating than from a physical cheating. Do you think I'm wrong?
I think you're right. I think you're right. I think a lot of it also is about life stage. And I'm going to use I'm going to go back to Giselle and Tom Brady to use this as an example. Um, they're going through a divorce. Nobody really knows why. It's not clear. And I was just reading the reports. And again, maybe it's because of my season of life, but I'm looking at it. They've got two kids together. They're ages 9 and 12. There's another kid as the result of a relationship on his end, his ex. And Giselle is the stepmom of this third child. He said he was going to quit football, and then he went back to football. Giselle's a hot girl with twice the net worth of his. She's got staff. She's got everybody. But this is an example that money doesn't buy everything. I think she just wants her husband back. And I think Tom Brady is emotionally cheating with football. And I think there's this term that's thrown around parent circles a lot, and it's called default parenting. It's whoever is the default parent has the biggest burden of child rearing. So whoever the children call for in the middle of the night when they need someone, whoever makes the doctor's appointment, whoever clips the nails, whoever can't take a break, because without them, the children would not survive. That's exhausting. And so he's always doing football. And Giselle's like, I'm tired. I'm 45. I want my husband back. The kids are old, a little bit older. They're not little kids anymore. So she probably set an ultimatum. I read yesterday she even saged her car. She had like some spiritual healer come out. This girl's done. She's saging her car. She's done. She wants her husband back. If he's not going to be there, she's cutting ties.
Are you the default parent, Laura?
I am in the degrees that are biologically not changeable. So like breastfeeding until my husband can start lactating, that's on me. Until he can bear a child, though the media tells me he can. It hasn't worked yet. That's on me. But we basically run a 50-50 household, and it's awesome. I would highly recommend it.
If you're just texting or listening to the show, you can text in 573-319-1586. We're speaking to Laura Langton. Camellia Petersen over on the live stream says maybe part of this is also partners having the expectation that the other person, quote, completes them in some way. Not sure what you mean with that. You could maybe be a little bit more specific, Camellia. Chris Morrill on the live stream says, I'm thinking of a 4-letter word that was popular in MAGA world, rhymes with duck. Pretty sure we know what you're talking about. Tony Allegra agrees with you and says he agrees that cheating requires hiding. What do you think? Again, send us a text, 573-319-1586. In terms of like, the back on the earlier topic of, kind of like the policing of his masculinity in the sense that if he's crying with another woman, that would be something that you would, look down on. I mean, how do you get Jace, I guess, since we've already named him, how do you sort of like, do you have to like get him to open up to you emotionally, or does he do that naturally to you? Like, because it would seem to me that in order to avoid, emotional cheating down the line, it's probably incumbent on the woman to initiate a lot of those kinds of conversations or to kind of like draw it out. Do you feel like you have to draw it out of him or not?
In some ways, yes, and in some ways, no. And I know that it's not a fun, satisfying answer. And our background has a lot to do with it. I grew up in a house where we did not talk about emotion. We did not talk about spiritual things. We did not talk about any of that. We weren't vulnerable. It's hard for me to be vulnerable in some rights. Like, I will come to him at the end of the day and I'll just let it pile up and be like, I'm a mess. I can't sleep. I'm done. And he'll be there for me 100%. He's more of the like, doesn't keep it bottled up. He's a little bit more emotionally intelligent than I am, and will, as things come, express them to me, and I'll be like, I get over it. But the point about marriage, the whole thing about marriage is that we're supposed to make each other better. So I better in ways, but in this particular way, he does make me better. And we are raising our boys to say, hey, it's okay to cry. If you need to cry, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay, well, just be careful, because
just don't do it with another woman when you're married.
All right, that's Liberty Laura Langton. Great interview on this show. Laura, is there anything else that you think our listeners should know before I let you go?
Yeah, so I used to work in Congress. That's where you and I met. Austin was in DC. So I used to work in the House of Representatives as a communications director. I've since quit that job, and now I run my own political newsletter that's an alternative to binging Fox News and CNN and Reddit for several hours a day. It's a political news aggregation service, email-based. You can sign up at billbrief.com, and you'll get a 7-day free trial, billbrief.com. I gather all the news for you, do all the research, summarize it for you, put in links, and it's all packaged with a pretty bow and is delivered to your email inbox 3 times a week.
Great stuff. Laura Langton, that was an awesome interview. Thank you very much for coming on the show today. We appreciate you very much.
Thanks, Austin. Appreciate our platonic relationship that we have going for us.
Me too. It's a very good platonic relationship. All right. What did you think of Liberty Laura? Not just good for TikToks for tyranny, but also a great interview as well. You can send me a text, 573-319-1586. I think I'm going to end the show there. We went long with both of those interviews, but I think they were both good. Did you enjoy them? It's Friday. It was a great interview. I'm going to get interviewed by Roger Stone later today on his show. It's going to be a great interview. You don't want to miss that. I will post on my Twitter account all of the information so that you can watch that. I mean, listen, it's been an awesome week. I think next week we're going to continue our rotation of the social networks. It's been a huge success. If you appreciate the Wake Up America show and you want to help support this show, become a monthly supporter. Head to wakeupamericaShow.com/support and join us. $5 a month to help keep us cancel proof. You can become a member of the Petersen's Patriots Club. That one is $17.76 a month, and you get a 20% discount in the AP for Liberty shop. Well, I have to say, I feel great, and I hope you do too. Next week, I'll be in Florida, but we're going to stream on Wednesday from Florida. Monday and Tuesday, I'll still be here doing the show like normal. Wednesday, special live event from Florida. Thursday, best of, and then Friday, no show, me just scuba diving, okay? We'll see you on Monday on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
shooting things, but whenever I can't shoot something, I like to cut things. My life isn't all about shooting and stabbing and cutting, though. Sometimes I have to do actual work, but when I work, I still like to have fun. And there's nothing less fun than trying to cut with a crappy knife. Thankfully, from the ancient sect of Christian knights, who also loved cutting and stabbing, comes a new implement that has received my personal blessing, the Templar knife. Like the ancient sword of Excalibur, you don't choose a Templar knife, it chooses you. You just decide what kind you want on the website first, however, and then order it online, and then it chooses you. The Templar knife comes in a variety of shapes. As a man of culture and taste, I have decided I will never use a terrible knife again. And thanks to the inspiration provided by this excellent product, I have decided to launch a new crusade against anyone using less than superior knives. Join me, brothers and sisters, by visiting uppercuttactical.com/pages/Templar-knives. That's a lot of slashes. For that, you'll need a Templar knife. For 10% off, use code AP for Liberty and join me in a quest for glory, for liberty, for Christendom, for the Templar knife. Get yours today. Fire.
Your printing company stinks. They charge you too much money, and they don't love America enough. We've got the solution. Patriot Printing USA. Whether you're running for office, saving souls, or just need business cards that will get you the new job you've been looking for, Patriot Printing USA has got you covered with the best prices around. Palm cards, brochures, bumper stickers, door hangers, you name it, we've got it. PatriotPrintingUSA.com. That's PatriotPrintingUSA.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
Average Americans are turning into conspiracy theorists at an unprecedented rate. Flip City Magazine was created for new converts to aid in their in-depth research along the path of absolute truth. We offer the hardest-hitting news and opinion delivered uncensored in print directly to your door. Displayed proudly on your coffee table or hide discreetly under your mattress. Flip City is the magazine they don't want you to see, much less read. Subscribe to Flip City Magazine today at flipcitymag.com.
I would remind you that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice.
It is better to settle these matters in the courts than on the streets, and new laws are needed at every level. But law alone cannot make men see right.